Yo guys, what's going on? It's Shauno here, and today I'm bringing a new video. Unless you've been living under a rock, you would have seen that Season of Discovery Phase 3 has been announced. It was announced yesterday, and it's time to start looking at builds. This is a huge phase coming up. We're going to have a 20-man raid in Sunken Temple. There's going to be PvP gear. There's going to be dual spec. There's going to be so many good things, and it's so amazing to see, and I really can't wait to get in there. But it's time to start looking at the best builds. What is the best build going to be? We will find out today. We're going to be running simulations on this video so you can see. No BS. This is exactly what's going to happen. Now, for this simulation, what we are using is general gear from Phase 2. Because we don't know what's going to change in Phase 3 yet. We've been told some of the dungeon gear will be buffed, but for this test, we're going to use the same gear set for every spec to give a fair comparison to see which is the best. This is nowhere near the Pre BiS. We don't know what the Pre BiS is. This is just a set that I've put together because we can't import gear that we don't know about. So this is purely for testing. So don't take this video and think, oh, I should get all of these items. No, this is just for the test. Now, what we're going to test is we're going to test the current fire build, which is the best, the hot streaks build Phase 2. We're going to test a build for Frost. We're going to test a build for Arcane. And then we're going to test the final build, which will be a fire build with some adaptations. So the first one we're going to look at is a pure fire build that we're using at the moment. Now, we've gone into the fire tree, obviously with elemental precision. I've added into Arcane Subtlety, Arcane Focus, and Arcane Concentration with 2 points. But these 5 points you can put anywhere you like. It makes little difference. You could put it in Fire Blast, you could put it in Flame Throwing. That's entirely up to you. I've just put this as purely for a long fight. You might want those Arcane Concentrations. We're using Deep Freeze on the head for every build that we've got so far because we don't know about any other head runes, so these builds could change, but for now we're just going to use Deep Freeze. It does 2,000 to 3,000 damage, so it's really nice. The chest, we've got Burnout. On the wrists, we've got the Molten Armor, the new rune that is coming. The hands, Living Bomb. Waist, Hot Streak. Legs, Living Flame. And feet is Spell Power. So this will be the first build that we're going to test. So we're going to import it in here, and we're going to use a fire rotation. We want to make sure that Molten Armor is ticked, the Arcane Intellect. Now for all these tests, this is going to be self-buffed, so the DPS is going to be a lot higher. Like I said, this is just a comparison of builds. This isn't about the numbers. The numbers are going to be much higher. We're going to pop Combustion at about 15 seconds, and this is going to be on a 35-second fight, so we can do a fair comparison. So what we're going to do then is we're going to run this build, which is 640 DPS. So this is the first build, 640 DPS. You can see here that we're using Scorches, the Pyroblast, the procs we get. This is the best DPS we can achieve, is 640 on average, 938 on the top end. The next one we're going to look at is the Frost build. Now I say Frost build, it's the Frostfire build. We'll be using Frostfire Bolt. Frostfire Bolt, since the buffs, it's absolutely insane because what's happened is they've buffed it at level 40 to try and make it good, but no one really used it. But now at level 50, it's going to be pretty bonkers. So this build is utilizing Shatter and Ignite with Fingers of Frost. So your Frostfire bolts will act as if they're frozen, which will trigger Shatter. And we've got Ice Shards. We've got all of the juicy talents that you need to make this work. We've got Deep Freeze, Fingers of Frost, Molten Armor, Living Bomb, Frostfire Bolt, Living Flame, and Spell Power. Just as a note, I have tested this with Brain Freeze, but Brain Freeze is a lot lower, so we're keeping Spell Power. Put this into the simulation. Got no combustion, so it's not going to be as good, I can tell you that now. However, let's run it because there's always people in the comments who are going to say, oh, but Frost could be good with this. Well, this is the numbers. Let's see. Got 516 with a top end of 887. So when you compare that, it is good. Don't get me wrong. This is the best place Frost has been. Now it's a fire rotation, but we can see it's Frostfire Bolt. You're still using Living Bomb. You're still using Scorches. So yes, is it really a Frost build? Well, yes, you're using a lot of Frost talents. Using Frostbolt and a deep Frost build is going to be a lot less DPS. So let's just call it a Frost build, and we're looking at 516 DPS average. Now, again, as I remind you, this are not final numbers. It's going to be a lot higher in the actual phase. Things could change with runes, but we're looking right now, it's just behind fire, 130 DPS less. Next, we're going to look at Arcane. So what we're going to be doing is looking at Arcane. Now for this one, what we've done is we've got the Arcane talents as normal. We're using up to Arcane Power. Then the extra talents that we had, I've put into Fire. So Impact and Ignite. Only reason for this is we're going to weave in some Fire Blasts occasionally. So it could proc Ignite. That's basically the min-max way of doing it. You could put these 10 points anywhere. You could put them in Arcane, but there's nothing in Arcane that is really going to increase your DPS. So for DPS min-maxing purposes, Ignite is probably the best we can get. Again, head is going to be Deep Freeze because we don't really know what else we're going to get. Chest is Enlightenment. Wrist is Molten Armor. Hands is Arcane Blast. Waist is Arcane Barrage, or Missile Barrage, sorry. Legs is Living Flame, and feet is Spell Power. Now, again, we're going to copy this in, change the rotation to Arcane, and then we're going to run the simulation. No, sorry, 612 DPS, 612. There's about 100 DPS more than Frost. But there we go. So you can see, obviously, Arcane Missiles, Arcane Blast, sorry, Arcane Missiles when it procs. We've got one Fire Blast in there, and Ignite proc, and Living Flame. Well, so yeah. So far, the best is the Fire. Now, the last build we're looking at is the Frostfire, Bellfire build. I've done a lot of testing for all of the builds. This is the best you can get with Frostfire Bolt and Bellfire Bolt. It's better than a lot of the other builds, but I'll just go into it and I'll show you the numbers. So we're using Impact because, of course, Fireball we're not going to use at all. We're using Ignite. We're using Pyroblast, mostly for pre-casting. You could take this out and use Flamethrowing instead. We've got Burning Soul, got Incinerate, got Improved Scorch, got Master of Elements, Critical Mass, again Blast Wave. If you want to use Blast Wave, you have to take Pyroblast. If you don't want to use Blast Wave or Pyroblast, put these ones into Flamethrowing. Then we've got 5 in Firepower, 1 in Combustion, 2 in Frost Warding, 3 in Elemental Precision, 5 in Ice Shards. Now the reason we're using Ice Shards is, of course, that Frostfire Bolt is a Frost spell and a Fire spell, so it will benefit from Ice Shards. We're using Deep Freeze. On the chest, we're using Burnout. On the wrist, we're using the new Balefire Bolt. Hands is Living Bomb. Waist is Frostfire Bolt. Legs is Living Flame, and feet is Spell Power. Now, the new spell called Balefire Bolt, it unleashes a burst of raw magic at your enemy. Each time you cast Balefire Bolt, the damage of your next Balefire Bolt within 30 seconds will be increased by 10%, but your spirit will be decreased by 10%. Both stacking up 10 times. Now, if your spirit reaches 0, you will immediately die. So what this means is you can cast this 9 times, but if you cast it the 10th time, you will instantly die. Now, the funny thing about this is there will be people going for the top DPS, and I can guarantee you somehow it will time crazily that when you cast the 10th one, the boss is going to die off of it. So they will die at the same time the boss dies. but they will get the #1 pass because they had the balls to throw that in there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Now what we're going to do is load this one in. We use a fire rotation. I'm going to be using Mage armor because of course we don't have the fire armor, the molten armor. We're going to be popping combustion at about 15 seconds. And let's run it. 681. So there we go. So this is the best so far. It's better than the normal fire, and the top end is higher as well. Now the spells we're using is Balefire Bolt, and when we're not using that, we're using Frostfire Bolt. Now obviously the duration of this fight is set to 35 seconds, so you won't be using that many Frostfire Bolts. But what would happen is you would cast 9 of these after your Scorches, keeping Living Bomb up, and then you would revert to Frostfire Bolt. Now talking quickly on Frostfire Bolt, it is better than Fireball. It's a lot less mana. Even if you're using traditional fire, you're going to be using Frostfire Bolt. Now Balefire Bolt is even better. So it's looking like this will be the build to use. But with gear, I can imagine this is going to be absolutely insane. You can see the max damage there is 2,500, but with gear it's going to be a lot higher. So this will be the best build. I'm looking forward to getting into phase 3 gear and simulating this build properly, but this will be the best build. But now at least you've got 4 builds here you can choose from. They're all pretty good. Now one thing you can notice is Arcane is not that far behind fire, so it could be Arcane will be insane. I've been trying to work out a way to use Balefire Bolt with Arcane, but currently unless Missile Barrage gets changed and will proc off of Balefire Bolt, it's looking like you can't really use it, which is a shame because it is an Arcane and fire spell. So we'll see what happens with that in the future. But yeah, definitely this is looking like a very nice build. With gear, we're probably looking at a good solid 1500 DPS potential. So yeah, looking forward to it. If you have any questions, comment below. If you want me to do any other videos, just comment below, let me know. I'm looking forward to the phase, and I'll see you all very soon.